in the quarter-finals. On our boxing once again, and also on the Wembley bill tonight, the unbeaten Wandsworth heavyweight Gary Mason, the man in the Frank Bruno mould, especially in the rapid manner in which he dispatches his opponents. His opponent tonight, Alfonso Ratliff, a man who's been in with Mike Tyson and managed to last to the end of round 2, but a tough, difficult opponent for Mason nevertheless. We join it at the start of round 1.
Mason is wearing the white shorts. He weighs 17 stone 1, so he's 2.5 stone heavier than Alfonso Ratliff. So this is a very interesting match. Ratliff is really only a cruiserweight, but he is the former WBC World Cruiserweight Champion back in 1985. So what you've got here is a mixture of experience in top class, where Ratliff is concerned, at a lighter weight, against Gary Mason, who weighs over 17 stone and has never lost a pro fight. 23 fights, 23 wins. He's out of the Bruno camp, and he's got a professional record rather like Bruno's. But Ratliff's clearly the most experienced and possibly the most dangerous man he's met, although Ratliff now is close to 32 years old. So his best days are certainly behind him. The question is, can Ratliff take these bombs that Mason carries in his gloves? There is exactly 2.5 stone between them. 14 stone 8 Ratliff in the red. For these 23 wins he's had, Mason has won them all inside the distance, far one. Incidentally, Mike Tyson beat Ratliff in 1986 inside 2 rounds. He took exactly 4 minutes and 41 seconds, and I just wonder whether Mason might be considering, could I do it a bit quicker? And Mason was off his guard there, and Ratliff was very quick to get at him. And that's the sort of thing Gary needs to guard against. Ratliff trying to ride these huge punches as they come winging in. Frank Bruno is sitting here watching this. Ratliff standing up to Mason's big punches extremely well so far. Mason putting tremendous efforts into this opening round. Ratliff trapped on the ropes, taking everything, but taking them remarkably well. So many of Mason's opponents have folded up quickly, but this man shows you that these tough Americans can take a punch. Mason has put a lot of work into that opening round, and this man has taken a lot of punches and never been off his feet. Alfonso Ratliff will be 32 in just a few days' time. Stands 6 feet 4.5. He's ranked the number 15 heavyweight in the world by the WBC. And as I said, he's the former WBC Cruiserweight Champion. That's the 13 stone 8 championship. He held that for 3 months in 1985. Now he's a stone heavier than he was then, but still conceding this enormous weight advantage to Mason of 2.5 stone. Well, this was Mason putting some big punches together with Ratliff trapped in the corner, but the American took them bravely and never went down. And Mason, meanwhile, expended a lot of energy doing that.
Second half. Round 2.
Mason from Wandsworth in South London. That's where he was brought up. He's got a shop in Wandsworth, a jeweller's shop, but he now lives in a house on the Medway down in Kent. 8 of Mason's fights have ended in the first round, 7 have ended in the second. This is the round Tyson beat Ratliff in 1986. Tyson's last fight that before he won the world title. A bit of a lesson here to Mason that not everybody goes over when you bang them hard. Second time we've seen Ratliff in this country. He was on that bill at Wembley Stadium the night Tim Witherspoon beat Frank Bruno, and Ratliff won that night against a fellow American, Stanley Ross, who was forced to retire after 5 rounds. He's a good puncher from Mason. I wonder how long Ratliff can take him. He's been in with a lot of good heavyweights like Witherspoon and Pinklon Thomas. He's never survived against them, and he's going to have trouble surviving here by the look of it. But still on his feet. Round 2. And whatever happens now, it's going to take Mason longer to beat him than it did Tyson. Frank Bruno behind me, urging Mason to set him up with the jab. Ratliff gaining a little confidence. Well, this is a tough opponent for Mason, a man who's far more experienced than anybody he's met before, and he's finding that out now. The only man who's ever taken in the distance in a pro fight was an American, Oscar Holman from Philadelphia, and that happened at Wolverhampton in November '86. In fact, you may well have seen it on Sports Night. Of course, Mason himself has been in with Tyson, not in a competitive fight, but he has sparred with Tyson in New York back in 1983 before he turned pro. Tyson was only 16 then, and Mason was 20. Well, he's put a lot of effort into the first 2 rounds. He still hasn't had the man on the floor, so he just needs to steady himself up now and forget about the dramatic knockout, and now work carefully and set the man up, tire him, and then beat him. Ratliff in the red trunks, conceding 2.5 stone to Mason. Tremendous weight difference. Right from Ratliff, he's looking dangerous. He survived the first 2 rounds, and he's taken what are presumably the hardest of Mason's punches. Taken them well. 2 weeks ago, Ratliff was boxing in Sweden in a cruiserweight fight, and he was outpointed by the Swede Magni Havnar, who was only having his 8th pro fight. That was looking extremely dangerous, and Mason had better be careful here. That's what Bruno was telling him to do. Set him up with a jab, leave him behind him.
That's it, Gary. That's it. Don't look out. Come on. Come on, Gary.
Ratliff's been in with Tim Witherspoon, who stopped him in 7 rounds. Pinklon Thomas stopped him in 10. And as I've told you, Tyson did it in 2.
That's it. Keep him busy
Mason looks much more effective when he keeps the man off balance with the jab. Very lawless now. I can hear him calling from the corner. He, of course, is Mason's manager as well as Bruno's, and he too is calling out for the jab.
That's it. That's a beautiful jab.
Well, this cagey customer from Chicago, born in Memphis, Alfonso Ratliff, is showing Mason that Mason's going to have to work if he wants a victory here. He's going to have to work for it and plan it. It's not going to be easy. Mason was born in Jamaica, but a confirmed Londoner now. He's lived in this country since he was 4 years old. Brought up in Wandsworth, exactly as Frank Bruno was. Strange how their lives and now their careers have tended to run together. Mason, of course, is a little bit behind Frank in experience and achievement, but he's working his way up there with 23 fights and 23 wins. 25 years old. Turned pro in 1984. Had only 10 amateur bouts. Well, he went out like a whirlwind to try and do this quickly. I'm sure he had Tyson's win on his mind, but Ratliff proved that he could take the punches, and now it's settling down into a more disciplined contest.
Second down, round 4.
What a beautiful left hook counter that was from Mason. There he goes again, trying to get the finish in Ratliff's own corner. Well, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't like to be standing in a corner with 17 stone 1 of Mason throwing bombs at me, but Ratliff seems to be able to take them. Despite what he's taken, Ratliff, believe me, is still dangerous. And he's still looking to win. Myra, Mr. Paris, the referee, I wouldn't get too close when the punches are flying. Frank Bruno is imploring Mason to use the jab, and Mason's looking a little groggy.
Hands up, sharp!
Ratliff's coming for him, and Mason's having trouble keeping him out. Mason needs to be very, very careful here. He's blowing a bit, Gary. I think he's thrown so much into the first 3 rounds, he may not have too much left. He's getting his breath back. Gary Mason has certainly lost a bit of confidence. He's put so much in, and it hasn't worked yet. Mason hasn't thrown a punch now for a minute. Ratliff standing off, wondering perhaps whether Mason's foxing. Mason almost seemed at one point to lose interest. Needs to get his confidence back.
Wake up now.
Now that was a very poor round for Mason, who came out as though he was going to finish him in Ratliff's own corner, didn't do it, and then suddenly went into his shell. It was almost as though he'd said to himself, I can't do this, what's the point? Lawless is giving him a right old pep talk now. It's all about psychology. He's got to restore his confidence to get him out there punching again. Well, Ratliff threw a good left hook there, and that didn't do Mason's confidence a lot of good. Another example here. Ratliff coming for him. And Terry Lawless now needs all his skill as a manager to get Mason up off that stool and out there thinking correctly.
Second up, round 5. Go!
Box.
And Ratliff, not far short of 32 years old, 29 pro fights behind him, 23 wins, 17 of them inside the distance. 6 defeats Ratliff's had, and been stopped 3 times, and each time by a heavyweight, by Witherspoon, by Pinkham Thomas, and by Tyson. But here he's conceding 2.5 stone. He's not been off his feet.
Come on.
And he's still posing a few problems for Mason.
Work.
Low one. Referee signal to him to keep him up.
That's it.
Well, this is a clear case of class and experience beginning to get on top here. Mason went like a whirlwind for 3 rounds, put it all into those first 3 rounds without any dramatic success. And now he's beginning to play for that whirlwind start. Remember, this man Ratliff
That's it.
is a former world champion at cruiserweight.
First. That's it. First. Sharp. That's it, Gary. Now jab you up. That's it.
Mason's throwing almost no punches at all now, and didn't in the last round.
First, Gary. That's it.
Seems to have sold out.
That's it.
Right, keep your punches up.
Back there, go on.
Again, that right hand was ruled low by the referee.
That's it, Gary. That's it.
And he staggered Ratliff. First time for 2 rounds. The end of the round coming up there. And Ratliff conveniently winds up in his own corner above his own stool. But the man from America, born in Memphis, in a little bit of trouble at the end of that round after having rather asserted himself on Mason for a couple of rounds. So let's have another look at some of the action from that round. And this presumably is when Mason was livening himself up at the end of the round with Ratliff trapped on the ropes. Unfortunately for Mason, the bell was coming up, so there was no chance to capitalize on this. Well, here's a tough man who's been in a few hard fights and knows the way around. fact spent some of his earlier life in jail.
Second round, round 6.
Slow to come off the stool, Ratliff, for round 6. Mason well out in front, of course, on the strength of those opening rounds, but still 3 rounds to go. And he just has to pull himself together and hang in there and try to make the 2.5 stone advantage tell if he can.
Jab him out. Work. Old man, you go, keep him busy.
The voice is Mr. Bruno's, in case you didn't know. Mason close to victory yet again. Ratliff all over the place, and he's got him at last. A right hand, he finally put him down. Round 6. What a time it took. And it's all over. Dave Paris, the referee, waves it over as Ratliff looks a little ragged and tottery as he gets to his feet. Well, that was a desperately hard fight for Mason. He went, I'm sure, all out for a dramatic quick win. And when that didn't work, for a couple of rounds, he really did seem to lose confidence. He certainly lost control of the fight. But then, suddenly, in that 6th round, he brought out the punch that ended it all.
Very good.
Right, we can see that finish again. It was the right hand that did it. He had Ratliff all over the place here in his own corner. And then as he turned away to try and get away, overcame that sweeping right hand. And Ratliff was in no position to defend himself. He was half gone at the time anyway. And although he beat the count, Ratliff, the referee stopped it. 1 minute 17 of the 6th is the time. And Gary Mason chalked up his 24th fight in a row and his 23rd win inside the distance. But that was one of the hardest fights he's had.
It's a great record for Gary Mason. One other result from Wembley tonight. Southampton's Gary Cooper took the vacant